Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you're watching this. Welcome to this episode of The Rundown. I am your host, Craig DeLuz, and well, as we always say, I do not do this program by myself.
Hey, I'm your co-host today, Mike Peworski, and happy Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday. Well, I guess you're probably not, too thirsty being there in the bourbon room.
Well, again, they're just props, Craig. They're just props. It's just a backdrop so everybody can see the dedication we have to the fine production value in this program.
Yeah, you say that, but I don't think anyone believes you, Mike.
Well, you know what? You do what you got to do.
Yes, I do. We do try to do what we have to do, or at least what we can get away with.
Yeah, there you go. That's a big key. That's a big key. Yep, yep.
Hey, folks. Hey, today we wanted to bring you a special edition of The Rundown. As you know, President Joe Biden gave his little speechify thing last night. And, we wanted to break down his first 100 days. Me personally, I'm a little frustrated because I know I'm not the only one who keeps hearing people say, "Oh, well, he's a moderate, he's a moderate, he's a moderate." Well, guess what? We all know he's not a moderate. He is at the very least, he's introduced policies that are incredibly progressive. I would say socialist, but we kind of wanted to break down a bunch of those policies that by the way, this is all first 100 days, and this is just some of the stuff. But we want to break it down, and just for those of you who do not know how radical is, we wanted to give you an opportunity to know.
Yeah, let's do it, Craig. I'm going to give you the first 100 days in a nutshell right here, folks. Here it is. His first 100 days, it's crap. That's it. We're done. Let's move on to something else. Let's talk baseball. Let's talk guns. Let's do it. Nah. I'm just kidding. We got a bunch of stuff to talk to you about, a bunch of stuff to analyze and talk to you about the first 100 days in office of our illustrious president.
I mean, let's talk about it. So let's start with just kind of the very first thing. Let's talk about over $6 billion in proposed spending, right? I mean, think about this. Think about the fact that he's already passed, in the very beginning, he passed $1.9 trillion in quote unquote COVID relief, 90% of which didn't go to COVID. Then he's proposed a $2.5 billion quote unquote infrastructure plan, none of which goes to infrastructure. And then at least the one thing I would give him with his quote unquote American Families Plan is it's $1.9 trillion. That's basically a grab bag of giveaways and redistribution of wealth. All in all, it totals over $6 billion in additional spending or redistribution of wealth. Now, maybe it's just me, but if there's an argument that he is socialist, that I would think you could just drop the mic right there.
Yeah, pretty simple, folks. He wants to take the money that is currently yours away from you and give it to others. And here's the horrific part about that. Most of the people he's giving the money to are not even Americans. And I'm not talking about non-Americans in this country. He's sending that money overseas. It's gone. It's like he's got to make up on lost payments because Trump pulled them back. President Trump said, listen, we're not giving away free money. We're not putting money around the world. We're not doing anything. There were places that there were critical issues, with people dying and things like those. He took care of it. But we simply just stopped handing out money to hand out money. You know what? You want to be friends with the United States? You earn it. We're not buying it from you anymore. Well, guess what? Old Joe's back on the bandwagon of handing money out. And he started with giving it to people overseas and foreigners outside our country. And now that's not enough. Just like Craig said, now we have to take what's left of that money and move it around because you shouldn't have it.
Well, exactly. I mean, why should the American people be able to keep their money when there needs to be, gender equity education in Pakistan?
It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's done for no other reason than to buy off the foreign leaders in those countries. That money doesn't go anywhere it's supposed to go. They take that money, do what they want with it for their own special needs, which usually includes, refurbing the palace or some crap like that. And just so those leaders will now, when anybody says, well, tell us about President Biden. Oh, he's a great man. He's a great man. He's a great man. That's all you'll ever hear out of him. Before that money started rolling in, they were all like, he's an embarrassment. Then the checks started hitting and they were like, no, he's a great man. I'm not kidding. Look back to the first 30 days, folks. Before those checks hit, they were all talking about him being an embarrassment. Now
Well,
that the money's flowing, oh, he's a great man. He's a great
well, but,
man.
what's funny is this. And this is the thing that really pisses me off with some of the folks who support Biden is they come back and they say, well, did you keep your stimulus check? Did you? Well, if you cash it, well, you're just as bad. I'm like, well, no, whoa. I said, first of all, let's be very clear. Me, my children, and my children's children are likely going to have to pay this money back. So it only makes sense that I'm going to at least try and keep as much of it as I can. That's just common sense, number one. But number two, the thing about, in particular, the stimulus checks and that gets me is it's one thing if we say, okay, these are the people, these are the industries, these are the groups that are in need because of what happened during COVID. But it's another thing to then just send blanket money to anybody. By the way, including people in jail. Yes, there are people who are in jail who are getting stimulus checks, who are getting unemployment checks across the country. California's horrible. It's something like $30 billion in money that has been stolen from our employment development department. Once again, all of it, the funding is all coming from COVID, which means a lot of it is federal money, which means that, the rest of you in the country are subsidizing California's incompetence. And Joe Biden's response to it is, well, let's give them even more money.
It's ridiculous. Listen, the service industry right now is so short on staff that they're handing out bonuses. And just think about that for a second. First off, the service industry is so short on staff because they're sitting at home collecting checks. Why should I give up the check I'm collecting at home and the bonus COVID check I'm collecting at home and the stimulus check I'm collecting at home to go back to work for my, $10, $12 an hour in my entry level position? That doesn't make any sense. Let's just keep feeding them the money and they won't go back. So on top of that, now we're going to give more money to the employers to hire them back. So we're giving them more money to try and beat the money we're already giving them. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's just
it is, dude. It is beyond ridiculous.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's the reason why. Because guess what? Someone has to pay the bill, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the funny part. Is people act like there's this huge pot of money out there that no one has to pay back, right? That it's the government's money.
Right.
Well, in the end, we all wind up having to pay for it. And if you look at what the president is proposing, well, it's going to be, we're the ones that are going to pay for it. For example, you have an increase in the capital gains tax.
Yeah.
It's going up from I think it's currently 26%. It's going to be going up to 43% under his proposal. Now, what that means that in something like 11 or 13 states, and over 10 states, put it that way, all Democrat run, the capital gains tax is going to be over 50%, meaning if you bought something today and you sold it tomorrow, whatever the increase is in the value of it, you have to pay 50% on. So if you bought your house and you sell it 10, 15 years later, unless you use the one-time exemption that the IRS lets you use, you're going to pay like 57%, or you'll pay over 50% of that back to the government. Now, it's not really homes that are going to be the issue. Where it's going to be, where the issue is going to be, is when it comes to investments. People are going to not sell their investments because they're not going to want to pay the capital gains tax. And by the way, capital gains tax is just one of the taxes that he's seeking to increase.
This is about control, folks. It's about control. They don't want you to panic right now and take your money out because the economy's going down the tank. It's going to crap. You see the fuel prices. You see everything that's going on. The economy's going to crap. Well, people don't want to lose their investments, so they want to take. Naturally, their first inclination would be take their money out of the bank, put it someplace where it's not going to either accrue interest or lose interest, and just put it someplace safe until the economy comes back, and then they can make more money. But the capital gains tax keeps you from doing that, because if you go try and take your IRA out, take your 401k, they're going to take half of everything you've got on it. Okay. So this is their way of controlling you and keeping it in there. And they get to artificially control the way the economy looks because nobody's taking their money back.
Right. And then on top of it, they want to increase taxes on higher income earners. When I say higher, because they keep saying the wealthy, but in certain places, like for example, if you live in places, many places in California, in New York, major metropolitan cities, if you earn $200,000, and once again, He keeps saying 400,000, but if you look at his proposals, it's all about increasing taxes on those who earn $200,000 or more. Uh, it, $200,000 is not a lot of money if you live in San Francisco or if you live in New York or if you live in major cities where the cost of living is very, very expensive.
Yeah, and that's a household. Make sure you're
Right.
clear on that, Craig.
Yes,
That's
that is a
$200,000
household income,
Yeah,
right? That's basically two middle class workers.
yeah. That's basically it. Yeah, in a high income area, exactly right. That's what you're going to get. And this was $400,000. $400,000 is what it was, and then all of a sudden, about 30, 40 days ago, it switched. It just you know what? It's 200,000 now. Hold
Right.
on, Joe. Hold on, Joe. You said no lies. Remember, you work at Oh well, guess
I
what?
don't remember
Yeah,
that.
again,
I don't remember that.
he fracking lied to you. You know, that's just all I'm
He
gonna say.
fracking lied. But that's the things, folks. It is nothing more than redistribution of wealth. For example, one of the things is they wants to take. Remember that child tax credit thing, the one
Yeah.
where people got $300 per month per child. Yeah, he wants to make that permanent. That is nothing more. If I say I'm going to tax you and I'm going to give it to you, that is wealth redistribution. Plain and simple. There's no other way to put it than wealth redistribution. And let me just tell you something for those of you who do not understand or who do not know this. Businesses or corporations don't pay taxes. What they do is they pass the taxes on along to investors, employees, and to the consumer. They pass it on to the investors by lower profits. And if you don't think you're an investor, if you have a retirement plan, a 401k, you are an investor. Just so you know. So they pass it on to you that way. If you're they pass it on to the employees by laying people off or by cutting people's hours or benefits. Chances are you're an employee, so you're going to pay again. And then they pass it on to the consumers by increased prices, which we're all consumers, which means that the businesses don't pay taxes. You pay corporate or business taxes. So that's number one. And then the wealthy. Well, the wealthy can generally tend to afford, if they're truly wealthy, they can afford to pay someone to help them move their money into a place where their tax liability is going to be significantly reduced. So the wealthy are a lot less likely to pay taxes. And once they create all these new programs that we saw in item number one, and then they're not getting the tax revenue from the wealthy that they thought they were going to get in number two, well, then guess who they're coming after? That's right, me and you.
Yeah, absolutely right. And just giving perfect examples, Craig. We talked about Kroger here over the past week or two. They got stuck with the $15 an hour thing down in California, Los Angeles area, and then they tried to throw that hero tax on them also, where they had to pay an extra $3 an hour to the individuals that work there. And Kroger said, nope, can't afford it. First they raised some prices, then they laid off some people, then they closed the stores. That's the exact cycle you just described there, Craig. As far as the wealthy and their money, and they're able to take their money and put it elsewhere. Listen, if it's my money and the law allows me to do it, the law allows me to. Okay, do I want to pay the taxes on it or do I not want to pay the taxes? And it's perfectly legal within the law. Guess what? I'm taking advantage of it. If you really want to get rid of some loopholes that actually exist, it's in the tax code that we should be looking at it.
Well, but what's funny is, see, there's another name for the wealthy that I think we need to keep in mind, and that's the investment class or the investor class.
Yes.
See, these are the people who invest money that make businesses go, right?
Yep.
If it is no longer advantageous for them to invest money in American business, they don't invest money. If they don't invest money, businesses don't get started and businesses don't grow. And that's the key, is that when you take the money away from them and you put it in the government's hands, well, we all know the government doesn't create anything when it comes to jobs. They just don't. All they can do is prevent jobs from being created. And to the degree that they don't do that is how they help the economy.
Yeah, and listen, I think that's might be a little bit off. Listen, we definitely saw with the last president where he was able to facilitate the creation of jobs. Obviously, he wasn't handing out employment to individuals. In fact, if anything, he reduced the size of the federal workforce. But what he did was enable and convince and cajole companies that, listen, you keep building in Mexico, then you're going to pay more import taxes. Oh, by the way, if you want to come back here, we'll reduce the tax rate for you here so you can come back and have
Right,
more American manufacturing jobs.
right. But see, but here's the thing. Like I said, but that goes exactly to my point. Is
Yep.
that he didn't do it by creating anything. What he
Correct.
did was, we're going to take government out of your way.
There
We're
you
going
go.
to get our hand out of your pocket
Yep.
and allow you to make more money.
Correct.
If you come here and you create jobs here.
Yep. Yeah, and that's exactly right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He didn't. Well, you weren't filling out a job application to come work for him, but he
Right.
made it possible that you could apply for a job in a company that 2 months ago was in Mexico, but now they're back in the United States because they're able to make more profit being here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, one area, and this is a significant thing to note, is that a lot of people don't realize that taxes aren't even really the big. I mean, that's a big deal for business, but taxes isn't even really the issue because they pass that along. What really gets business is regulation, and the number of changes that he has. First of all, things that he's instituted via executive order, like all of the reduction in the ability to get pull oil, whether it's fracking or whatever. He didn't renew or failed or put an end to a bunch of the leases for fracking here in the continental U.S. He ended the Keystone Pipeline. And then there's also the labor law changes and things that he's proposing and looking to do via regulation that are going to change and increase the cost of labor in these United States, which, by the way, is going to do nothing more than decrease investment and chase jobs out of the country.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. And he's changing these regulations, and he says we're going to tax the rich, we're going to tax the wealthy. And yet, guess where these regulations, who they benefit? Those with the top 1% of salary will never, ever feel this. And I'm not talking about, let's say, what's his joke? Bill Gates got $100 billion. So if you tax him, he's just not really going to notice it. No, he's going to pay zero in taxes. All of these, we're going to make these changes. We're going to do this. Yeah, it's going to screw the working business owners. It's going to screw those people that are actually out there sweating and laboring to make the money, and those that are sitting back, drinking their tea with their finger in the air, counting their $100 billion. They won't feel this at all.
Well, what's funny about it is funny. We posted a meme the other day, and one of the things that it noted was that Elon Musk or Tesla,
yeah,
actually. They made I forget, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but they basically wound up actually losing $181 billion in operations. But what happened was they made a bunch of money off of buying and selling Bitcoin, as well as trading regulatory credits with other automakers. Yeah. So, like in places like California, we have these credits which say, which allows business to pollute a certain amount. Well, they took their credits and they sold them to other places because you can buy the credits. If you're going to pollute more than you thought, you can buy credits which will allow you which will allow you to pollute. They actually made made money off of selling their credits. So once again, like you said, the people who have the money to be able to buy the credits and then turn around and sell them at a profit, those are the people who are going to benefit. It's literally is nothing more than a government-created market.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I don't want you to think that I'm for taxing the top 100%. I think, they should pay their fair share just the way as everybody else should be, but their fair share should be the same as everybody else's. That's what you should have. Everybody should pay a certain tax rate. I don't think that the regulations should be taken in these new rules should be taking more money from any business owner, whether they make $100,000 a year or $10 billion a year. You've earned your money. It's up to you to decide where you want to do it. If you want to be charitable and give money away, that's for you to say. That's not for the government to say. They don't get to come along and pick which charity that you get to send it to. And it's usually one of, Joe Biden's buddies in Pakistan or something like that, because that's where your money's going to end up. If you earn it, you should get to keep it, and you get to determine where it goes.
Well, exactly. And then the funny part is they want to raise taxes with the idea of bringing in more money. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that you learn. When Kennedy raised taxes, or when Kennedy cut taxes, more money came in. When Reagan cut taxes, more money came in. When Trump cut taxes, more money came in. Because in the end, there's this thing called the Laffer curve, right? And the Laffer curve basically says if you tax people at 0%, you get $0. If you tax people at 100%, you get $0. Somewhere in the middle is a sweet spot, right?
Right.
Where you can tax them at just the right amount and you maximize the amount of revenue that comes in. And the thing is that I think history has demonstrated that where Biden wants to take us is on the downside of that Laffer curve.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But why can't the government live within their means? Why does he need our money to do all of these things? Well, that's just his way. That's just his policy. It's a socialist Democrat policy, and they can't do that with their own money because they don't make money. So what they have to do is raise more money, and through all these tax methods, and just like you said, Craig, his sweet spot, well, evidently is somewhere around 53, 54%.
It is deep within our pockets.
Yeah.
But and here's the sad part about it is that, he also at the same time wants to decrease the ability of us to be able to say something about it, right?
Yeah.
You look at what is going on in terms of free speech, and here's the problem. I don't know that Biden is necessarily the one saying we need to end a lot of this stuff, but he's not standing up against, in particular, big media and big tech to say, look, we need to respect the freedom of speech of all people, including those who disagree with us. And we're seeing right now, whether it's the mainstream media or we're seeing big tech, who are all basically siding with the left and doing whatever they can to shut down the speech of those with whom those who disagree with them.
A former U.S. attorney, his office apartment was raided yesterday. The former mayor of New York City, his office was raided yesterday. The former special counsel to the president, his apartment was raided yesterday. Oh, and by the way, folks, that's all the same person, Rudy Giuliani. They just went after. Guess what Rudy had to do with this? Guess what Rudy had to do with any of this? Rudy was one of Trump's allies for forever and a day, and so they're going after him. You want bipartisan getting together, Joe? You want us to all hold hands? Well, guess what? You can't be going after Rudy Giuliani for doing his job for the past couple of decades. Guess what Trump didn't do during his term? He didn't go after you. He didn't go after Obama. He didn't go after Hillary. He didn't go after Hunter. He left it alone for the good of the country, left it alone. As many of us said, put her in jail. He didn't do it for the good of the country. And now you're going to start this on day 99 of your office? Guess what you got coming, Joe? You better put some barbed wire on those gates around the Capitol.
You better let Hunter know that he probably needs to skedaddle, because he's, chances are they're going to be coming for him. But that's the thing, man, is you think about it, they blame Trump for going after his political enemies, but under Obama you had the IRS basically either refusing or suspending or investigating the tax status of nonprofit organizations that ideologically weren't in line with what they want to do. And they're doing the exact same thing now. Yeah. They're literally taking the FBI, and instead of going after groups like Antifa, they're going to spend their time going after patriotic groups that say they believe in America. Yeah. And some of these groups, man, I'm telling you, some of them, they're bad actors, or at least they talk bad. But some of them, most of the ones that quote the Southern Poverty Law Center deems as hate groups, the only thing they hate are stupid, idiotic, left-wing socialists who want to destroy our country.
Yep.
Which, by the way, I hate them too.
Yeah, they hate people that decide the Constitution doesn't mean anything and they can do whatever they want whenever they want to. People that are, firm in keeping their oath, and their oath means something to them.
Right. Well, exactly. And part of that, by the way, includes going after states that are doing things that they don't like or that they don't support. Like, let's see. Georgia. Literally, you have a president who said that their new voting laws are worse than Jim Crow. Now, I'm sorry, but what I've studied about the Jim Crow era, we're talking about lynchings, murders. We're talking about just the worst of the worst happened in our country. Is definitely a stain on our country, Jim Crow. And he wants to say that what's going on now in Georgia is worse than that. Right? Even though, by the way, his home state of Delaware has even more restrictive voting rights. Even those states like New York have even more restrictive voting rights. But once again, they want to use that as an impetus to then go after those states and shut down their ability to make decisions within their borders.
I was reading an article today, Craig. Florida has just passed It's passing through the House now. It passed through the House. It'll be passing through the Senate shortly. They're basically the same kind of voter, laws that Georgia has. It's putting a few more restrictions in place that is going to ensure that elections are honest. All right. We many of the things that you saw going around the country, Florida learned the lessons on those years ago, but now they're tightening up some of these things with absentee ballots and where you can drop off your ballots, things along that nature. So Florida's done it now also. But the article goes on and talks about how Florida has passed these laws to further restrict how the Democrats are able to vote. Like, what? We mentioned it right here. You mentioned it, Craig, a couple of minutes ago. The media's take on everything, how they're portraying it to you. There are gaps in the law that needed to be controlled, that needed to be put under the thumb to ensure honest elections, and all of a sudden, that's how you suppress the Democrat vote.
Yeah, who the hell wants an honest election, right?
Yeah, we know what happened. That's how we have a dishonest president, is because we had a dishonest election. If any of you out there right there have any doubt whatsoever that it wasn't stolen in many states, then you're kidding yourselves. Absolutely kidding yourselves.
Well, here's the thing, though, and this is what kind of, though, also gets to the point of this program, is one of the ways in which they want to take away fundamental rights, their restrictability, states' ability to deal with fundamental rights, is by taking away a right to keep and bear arms. And the number of ideas and anti-gun bills, we have not had a president that is this visibly and this vocally anti-gun. I can't think of one in my lifetime.
Listen, this guy wants our guns gone. He talked last night during his little joint session meeting with Congress about things that were just absolute 100% bold-faced lies when it comes to firearms. He wants to bring back the assault weapon ban because during the time of the assault weapon ban, according to him, crimes went to zero. Crimes went down. And now since the assault weapon ban is gone, it's bloodshed on the streets every day, and it's a direct response to the assault weapon ban in standard capacity magazines. Absolute lies. Study after study, paper after paper have just shown that did zero. Because you know why? You want to know how many crimes assault weapons are used for? A handful a year.
Right.
A handful a year. He talked about how 250 people a day are shot, and that's how we have to get rid of assault weapons. Hey, Joe, you want to really have a problem? You want to really get rid of the problem? How about you look in places like Chicago where 250 people are shot a week? That's a real number. How about you look out in California? It's amazing where the places with the hardest and sternest gun control are where the people are getting shot. Make any sense to you, Joe?
Maybe you're changing the wrong laws. Maybe you need to start looking at, it's not a gun violence problem. It's a violence problem. And maybe you need to start to figure out why is it all of a sudden, because by the way, guns have been a part of our culture forever, since the foundation. Why is it all of a sudden you have generations, you have people who believe that the way in which to solve problems is to go out and violently attack somebody? That's the fundamental problem. And I think that's one area where we should, the left and the right, be able to get together, is that how do we deal with these social emotional issues that people are dealing with? Now, I happen to think the one area in that where we're going to disagree is I think there's a level of morality and values that are not being taught any longer. In fact, that are being discouraged. I think that's a big part of it. But I do believe that there is some part of the mental health, social, emotional thing that needs to be dealt with and needs to be addressed, helping people. How do you deal with negative emotions? How do you deal with confrontation and finding constructive ways instead of destructive ways? But part of that is not, by the way, taking away our fundamental right to keep and bear arms.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. Those are issues that need to be addressed, but they need to recognize, just like you said, that issue exists aside from the guns. The gun does not go out and cause any problem any more than the car commits a DUI, any more than a spoon makes you fat. Okay, we know that. That's up to the individual, and you have to be able to help and reach the individual that way. Just watching this guy last night, gets the old blood boiling, gets old Angry Mike to come out because. Listen, he lied about the Charleston loophole last night. He lied about the gun show loophole. He lied about everything that he could with guns last night, every single step of the way, and just went and said, oh, listen, you Senate Republicans, we need you to cross over and help this problem. There's no problem with guns, Joe. Here's the problem that Joe Biden has with your gun, folks, and your guns. That they're afraid you're going to come for him. That's all it is. They don't care. He honestly doesn't care how many people die in Chicago. Otherwise, they would have addressed that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when it started to go on the rise. They don't care about people dying. When the children die, a kid gets shot, that's a great way to get up on the TV and say, oh, it's for the children. No, it's crap, because he wants to put such constrictive laws and take so much money from you that you using your firearm against a tyrannical government is no longer an option. He wants your guns so he could take down the fence around the White House.
Exactly, and that kind of leads me to our parting shot today. Once again, I think we've kind of laid out a decent argument as to why he's a socialist. I mean, you've literally got him redistributing wealth. That's, through taxes. He wants to basically tax those who produce in order to, one, give to the government, and then turn around and give a fraction of that to people, to others. But basically, once again, redistribute your wealth. He wants to change regulations. He wants to control the means of production. Folks, that's the very definition of socialism, right? Yeah. It's controlling the means of production, and in this case, through government regulation. It's silencing their political opponents. It's going after local. I mean, we have the separation of powers, not just amongst the three branches, but at various levels. And he wants to go after states and their ability to make decisions for their citizens. And finally, in order to make sure that it all takes, he wants to make sure that that we're all disarmed. And that kind of leads me to today's parting shot, which is right here. As President of the Socialist States of America, I order you to surrender your rights to me so we can unify ourselves under my leadership until Kamala fires me.
It's so true. It's so true. Listen, I can only imagine when he fell up the stairs, she was there going, ooh, almost
got him.
This is exactly what's going on. It's a matter of, let's make this the socialist union of Joe and soon to be Camelot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, all right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for this edition of The Rundown. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking, sharing, and subscribing, and telling your friends to do the same.
Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you soon at Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday, baby. We'll see you soon.